Hello guys, this is a quick big video that I wanted to make based on some things that have happened recently in the Linux gaming community. I normally don't do videos. In fact, this is my first when it comes to the Linux in general. I haven't done any videos before. I think this is perhaps a good entrance point because this is really interesting news and I wanted to share it in a way where people can, make their own opinion and form their own impression of all of this. And I try to basically cover this as good as I can with, my general lack of knowledge as well, because I'm still a bit of a Linux newbie. But the topic that I wanted to discuss is the following. Normally, Linux gaming is always lacking behind Windows gaming, and one of the main reasons of that is just the general feature set that's available. On Windows, for example, if you have an AMD card, you have like the Adrenaline software, you have fluid motion frames that you can enable, I think, in any DirectX 11 or 12 game. So you have features like that that are currently not available on Linux, and usually we're just lacking behind. And if we get like some nice goodie, then we mostly have to wait for a while until it gets released in any way, shape, or form. But this is something that's unusual because currently what we do have in Linux is we have the opportunity to use FSR4 and RDNA3 hardware. This is actually nothing new. I think this has been possible for a few months now, in fact. But this is something that wasn't really supported on Windows currently. I think it still isn't. AMD only officially supports RDNA4 hardware currently when it comes to FSR4. If you have an RDNA3 card and you are running Windows, then you are just out of luck. But on Linux, we have a workaround. A workaround that has been made by this guy right here, Etaash Mafamseti. I hope I pronounce his name correctly. It's probably not even his real name, it's just his GitHub alias. He's responsible for basically making a workaround that makes it possible to run FSR4 on RDNA3 hardware. And he's still on it. Like he's doing much more than just this. He's, for example, also in the forefront of making Wayland a reality, which is something else. And I'm not going deeper into it. But when it comes to like bleeding edge features that are available for Linux gaming, he's at the forefront of all of it. Yeah, shout outs to him. He also wrote a really nice article about all of this, how he implemented the workaround, etc. I'm not showing this here because, first off, I don't understand a single thing. I'm gonna be honest there, but it should be easy to find in case you are curious. What I'm more interested here is the following right here. If we go to Proton-EM, which is basically his customized version of Proton, we see that he has released a really interesting version like 16 hours ago, where apparently he managed to improve the performance of FSR4 on RDNA3. According to him, it now runs significantly faster. And this is really good news because before, the general consensus was that while it was running on RDNA3 hardware, it wasn't really worth it because in most cases it just simply ran worse than native. So if you would upscale to 4K, for example, you might as well just enable 4K native and you most likely will get more FPS. Now with this, it should not be the case anymore, especially if I haven't opened that one yet. I'm gonna go into his docs right here. I think he made a little phrase where yeah, there. It's a bit hidden, but according to him, with recent updates and the Mesa as well, the Mesa is the driver stack or part of the driver stack of AMD, performance isn't great, but certainly better than running at the native resolution. So this sounds really intriguing and interesting. So I want to check this out. I have prepared 3 games that I am actually playing or about to play, which as I said, makes it really interesting for me. So I might finally be able to use FSR4 in one of the games I want to play, which is really exciting. Before I start, though, I want to give a bit of a mini history lesson because I think, 11 days ago on r/Radeon, there was a post about this actually, where someone made some tests about, running FSR4 on RDNA3 hardware. He has the same GPU as I do, and he made some tests, and this one got a lot of traction. There was a lot of coverage, at least for, on the levels of, Linux gaming, which normally isn't like at the forefront of every newspaper or something like that. But it got a lot of coverage. In fact, it even got coverage, for example, from Daniel Owen, which made a video about a week ago about this topic. And this is huge. Like, if some big personality on YouTube makes a video like this is always a good sign. It makes people aware. I imagine a lot of people didn't even know that was a thing, like a possibility that you can use FSR4 on older hardware. So this is great. I'm not a fan of the post itself because the numbers are way off. Like, for example, his conclusion in this post was already that FSR4 runs better than native, which is just not the case. Like, I'm refuting the numbers that he posted here. For example, this part right there where he compares 4K native with FSR4 quality. Like, FSR4 quality is on the right and native is on the left. And according to him, it just straight up runs better. And those are just, I'm gonna call it that way, those are just wrong numbers. I even got a bit mad about it, I'm gonna be honest. Right on the this video, I even made a comment here, which funnily enough is at the top. It's probably because I wrote it. And I made some tests myself where I was like, hey, this is just not the case. I wasn't able to reproduce the results. And that's great. My results might be wrong as well, but at least I'm pretty sure this is actually more close to reality, where, for example, Cyberpunk, before, when you ran FSR4 quality, you got like 47 FPS, while if you just use native, you get over 60 FPS average. Like, this is my experience, my common experience. And if I look into the Discord servers, for example, for Nobara or CashUS, the opinion seems to be the same. So obviously I'm going to support those numbers. I would be really curious if one of you guys were able to basically run FSR4 already with better performance. There might be a setup or PC software issue on my side, even though so far I'm not really complaining. Like my Linux installation runs great overall, but who knows? All right, so enough explained. Maybe another thing, maybe a shout out to this little, I'm very sorry, to this guy right here, which made me aware of all of this. I was just browsing, Reddit this morning, and I saw this post, and obviously I was a bit suspicious, but then he linked to the new Proton-EM version, and I checked it out, and oh my god, apparently this is something worth checking out. And he did it with the RX 7600, and he already confirmed it to himself, like a 2x to 2.5x improvement. I'm not going too deep into the numbers here. It's more of a showcase, I would say, giving a rough idea. I will probably make benchmarks outside of the recording, to really see how much faster it runs, especially if I switch back to an older Proton version, for example. But this is not the focus here. I just want to showcase it, and for this I already prepared some games, and one of them is Expedition 33, which I just bought recently. In fact, I bought it today because it's actually something I really want to play now. And thanks to this update, I might be able to play it with FSR4. So obviously, just as a heads up, I'm gonna change the scene so it actually uses game capture instead of display capture. Just as a heads up, I'm currently recording this game on the machine I'm running it on, so expect some performance overhead from the recording. Those numbers might be a bit different if OBS wasn't running. So obviously I'm gonna use the controller to set that up. Alright. Now I have to check the settings first just to make sure. Alright. We're gonna use the Epic preset, and we're currently on XeSS performance. This was like the settings I wanted to use to play the game. Maybe we can check OptiScaler as well. I won't go too deep into what you need for it to run. There are some manual steps, but you know, it's subject to change. I can imagine a few weeks or a few months, everything I will tell you is completely outdated. This is more just focused on the, I say, promised performance, right? So as you can see, we're using XeSS. We're using the performance, which is basically upscaling from, in my case, full HD to 4K, 2 times upscaling, or like 4 times the resolution. So with this, let's go into the, you know, the center of the city.
I can't imagine what you're going through.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I've lived 33 good years. Look around. We've had our whole lives to prepare. We're all fine. Mostly.
I'm letting them talk real quick. I think it's not a long dialogue. Alright, so we are in the city center, at least I think it is. I haven't barely played that game yet. But as you can see, we get like a rough idea of the performance right now using XeSS. If we walk around in town here. And maybe just as a heads up, I try to record all of this in pretty high quality. So I would recommend setting on YouTube, setting the settings to max, you know, 4K. Even if you don't have a 4K screen, just so you can maybe even compare, you know, the visual differences. So I think we saw enough. This is, as I said, XeSS, and now with OptiScaler, we can use the XeSS input from the game and go to FSR4.x, which is basically 3.1. And with this, we have the option to go to FSR4. It's similar like on Windows, where you have like an upgrade option for games that already implement 3.1. There are still many games that don't support 3.1, you know, natively. So OptiScaler is sometimes really useful. It's not always needed for every game, but it makes the whole process way easier. Or like even possible, like I said, if FSR 3.1 isn't available. So let's go back into the game. We are now using FSR4. Again, we can confirm the settings. We are on performance, which means if we go back, we can see we are upscaling from full HD to 4K. And those are our current numbers right here. To be honest, for me, those numbers are a bit too low. But it's certainly playable. And I must say, I hope you can see it on YouTube as well. Like the quality of the image, despite it being performance, you know, looks way better than XeSS. In fact, I already tried native, and I'm actually really disappointed how the game looks in 4K native. This is the next thing I want to try. But yeah, I must admit, like, this game is really gorgeous with FSR4. Like, I'm really jealous that people with RDNA3 hardware have, I say, a bit of a better time regarding this. But yeah, so far it's looking really good. We can now disable upscaling. I'm just gonna straight up go to TSR and use 100%. And as you can see, we are at 4K native. The performance dropped a bit, not by much, but it did drop. Before we were mostly over 50. I didn't even pay attention if we dropped below 50 once, but now we are clearly below 50. So enabling FSR4 on, in my case, 7900 XTX is in fact a performance uplift. And in case of that game, I would even say like a quality uplift. Like FSR4 looks better than native, like, which is a bit I might have to look a bit more into the details myself, but just like the initial impression of the visuals right here. I like the picture, like the visual quality of FSR4 quite a bit more. Right, we can perhaps... oh, oops, I'm sorry, we have to enable that in the game again. Otherwise, OptiScaler can't do anything. Perhaps we can even, while we go back, we could perhaps try something like quality, maybe. With quality, we are now going from Quad HD to 4K. We can confirm that. If we go here, FSR4 is active again. We are now going from Quad HD to 4K, which is 1.5 times more. And now, let me wait for a moment. It looks like we have like slightly worse performance now than 4K native, or about the same. It looks like more about the same. So yeah, the FSR4 hit is still heavy. Like you still lose a lot of performance basically. But again, like if I look at it this way, like this is by far the best picture so far. Like in terms of visual fidelity, like this is, for me, this is a high quality picture. Obviously I wouldn't play like this. I would probably go back to performance at least. Even though I already said like this is for a game like this, it could be enough performance. Like barely. I would like to be over 60. But if you know, compare the visuals, you know, we can again wait, just perhaps disable the FSR4 and go back to XeSS. And yeah, it's... I mean, I like the smoothness, the increased smoothness of it, but it's clearly... looks worse. So... still a compromise. There's not a perfect solution, at least for this game, but at least when I look at the numbers, initial impression, I would say this game looks better than, you know, like better than native even. Like better like than XeSS, better than native. Like this is probably a game I will play through with FSR4 actually, I would say. So, alright. Now this was Expedition 33. I have two other games I want to show. And one of them, I hope it works, because with this I had trouble making OptiScaler work. In fact, it does work, but only in the first few seconds of the game. Maybe I can show it in the recording. It's going to be real funny to look at, I think. Yeah. See, it works now. But as soon as the game initialized, the button doesn't open the overlay anymore. So for Monster Hunter Wilds, I sadly have to restart the game every time to basically revert back to FSR 3.1. But at least the configuration of that game is easier, because this game already supports 3.1 out of the box. So this is a game you could get away without OptiScaler at all. I won't go too deep into the details, as I said, of installation whatsoever. Might change in the future. But just for confirmation here, we are using FSR4. And I think it's the highest settings in general. I think Bloom is... yeah, I disabled Bloom, Motion Blur. And I'm also using Reframer with some added mods to increase... you know, the quality of the colors and stuff like that. And also something else I can show. So this is probably hard to reproduce here. This is not the out-of-the-box experience. I played quite a bit of Monster Hunter, which is why I did some modding on it. You know, the out-of-the-box experience isn't that great, I would say. You know, also I can remove the, I'm sorry, the overlay of Reframework. What I wanted to show is the following. If we go back to options, like this is like a really important mod, at least on Linux, I think. If you pay attention to the right, we have direct storage GPU. If you use the game out of the box without mods, you will most likely see CPU there. Because for some reason this is not something that works out of the box. And I did some testing and the the performance improved significantly on my machine. Obviously, might be different for you all. This is something you have to fiddle with yourself. As you just noticed, I had a stutter there, so this game is not stutter free at all. But yeah, I think it's probably worth showing the most demanding area in the game. So far the FPS are actually looking really good. Like the fact that they are above 100 is a really good sign. Also, I don't know if that was visual. I'm using FSR4 quality in this game because it's a bit less demanding than, a bit less demanding than Expedition 33. So we're going from Quad HD to 4K here. And I'm gonna rest real quick because we need inclemency would be the best time for this. Because those, I don't know why, but all those fire and magma effects are really demanding and cause a lot of stutter. So this is like a pretty good representation of like the worst case in performance, basically. So also, it was just announced, and this game will get a title update next week. So everything that I will show right now might be outdated anyway, so don't bother reproducing this. Things might break with the next update. They might work. Who knows? Maybe I need to stay a bit more on the surface where we. Yeah, but to be honest, I haven't paid much attention to the FPS numbers in that game. I will restart the game with 3.1. But so far, obviously it's a bit stuttery here, even though like from my experience it should get a bit better over time. Like this is certainly playable. Like I'm personally really impressed, especially by the visuals. Like even though we already have a really high resolution picture, with Quad HD, like there's not a lot more upscaling on top of it. Like this game looks gorgeous. Like it looks like it clearly looks better. Like this is really, and it runs, like at least for me it runs well enough. Obviously it's a bit stuttery. That's just the nature of things, I would say. I wasn't able to make that game not stutter at all. I don't think it might be possible, but if you have an option like that, if you run Linux and have similar hardware and you were able to get all of this under control, then leave a comment or something. I would be really curious. But yeah, this is like it feels great and it runs great. Obviously, maybe another thing I want to add just to close this up. You guys saw that I'm actually using FrameGen. That's because this is one of the games where I actually think this game just runs overall better using frame generation. I actually have quite a negative opinion. Like if I don't need it, I don't tend to use it. But in Monster Hunter Wilds, I think frame generation actually works really well. So I kept it enabled, just as an information. We can perhaps disable it, and then you will get a more realistic, Oh. Ah! See, okay, now we figured out why the overlay wasn't working. It was because of FrameGen. Now that we have FrameGen disabled, we can open OptiScaler. I figured it out, okay. See, this is all a bit impromptu, but okay, now it works. Like just disabling, re-enabling it, okay. But okay, so if it works, that's actually great news. So we can basically just hope it works. Why does it even show XeSS? That's a bit confusing. I probably broke the game now. By the way, the reason why it didn't show FSR4, like because I wasn't using OptiScaler, we were using a Proton internal feature to upgrade from FSR 3.1 to 4. We didn't use OptiScaler for it, so don't mind what it's saying here. Perhaps we're now replacing the Proton implementation with the OptiScaler implementation now that the overlay works. And we are waiting because I had a similar effect on Cyberpunk as well. See, the game recovered. It just takes a while initially. So now we're using FSR4 through OptiScaler. And wait. Huh. Seems like the performance grew worse overall. Really funny. Yeah. Like for me, I would probably not play it like that. I will probably remove OptiScaler, at least for this game, and just use the internal Proton update. But at least this way, we should be able to just go back to FSR 3.1, right? It seems like it worked. I don't know if it shows in-game, actually. Maybe we have to restart it. I'm a bit stupid. Where does it show it? It still says 4.0. Not happy about that. At least I'm pretty sure it uses FSR 3.1 now. So just ignore what the game says. As I said, I'm probably going to remove OptiScaler for that one. But this is pretty close to the performance I'm used to. So if we compare that to before we used OptiScaler, obviously we have a bit of an increase here. It's hard to tell an estimate based on, you know, with all the changing numbers, but it's definitely like 1 or 2 dozen frames more. Like we still had over 100 most of the time before, right? So this is like a performance penalty I would be willing to make. Even though, I mean, it still looks good, you know, don't get me wrong. I mean, FSR 3.1, especially if we have a high base resolution, does a pretty decent job. I mean, this is still looking good, you know, in my opinion. Obviously, the other option looked better. I just have to admit it. But it does still look pretty great. Or maybe we can change back to FSR4 here just one more time to maybe perhaps get a bit of a visual comparison. Like if we're here and we are now changing to FSR4. Yeah, especially like all those runes at the walls or like at the furnaces there. And the magma at the top and stuff like that. Yeah, like I would ignore the performance there. Maybe we'll just restart the game, just out of curiosity, remove OptiScaler. I mean, that would be a really interesting observation to make, I would say. So, you know, let's do that real quick. I'm not gonna show this, you just have to trust me on that, what I'm doing, basically. But yeah, as I said, we're only gonna disable OptiScaler, basically. So I renamed the DLL, and now we have to adjust the launch options. Yeah, this is, by the way, top secret stuff. I'm not allowed to share this. This is deep insider knowledge right there. I mean, if you guys are curious, like if I need to make a tutorial about this, like if there's interest, I would be really happy to do it. It's just, I don't even know if there's any interest. And as I said, it might be outdated, or might get outdated really quickly. So at least for now in the magma section there, we were like consistently below 100. So now I disabled OptiScaler. It shouldn't run anymore. So we're just using the Proton internal method. We can confirm it again in the settings. So oops. No gallery. Go back. There we go. We had 4.0. I thought there was already a 4.0.1 release, but I might be wrong. I might be wrong there. No. I saved the game, so we shouldn't need to rest, I think. Yeah, we just have to basically... should have a camp down there. Yeah. No. Actually the performance drops pretty much here as well, like below 100. Okay, so this is an intensive area of the game, so this is like one of the worst case, I would say. So this is one of the areas, but I think it's still a bit higher than before. It might be placebo. I have to do benchmarks, but it still falls below 100. But I mean, I would still say, I mean, the game still feels great. So I would personally probably play it like this. Obviously, people can have different opinions, you know. I mean, I'm kind of a guy who likes having a lot of frames as well. I would love having over 100, but no, this is looking pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna quit this game and switch over to our last one. At least I wanted to showcase. And this one is a bit of a tricky one. I probably have to restart that one once or twice, because I noticed that while you might think it runs natively, it suddenly uses some kind of upscaler anyway, or at least like the FPS numbers don't add up. We are trying Cyberpunk. By the way, we didn't try Monster Hunter Wilds on 4K native. That's probably something I could have done. Maybe just as a comparison. We'll definitely do it in this game though. So, yeah, I don't care about my controller. So, just to clarify, we can, like, if we press insert, we can't do anything yet because we need to go into the game. I'm gonna just go through the steps here. I'm gonna go Ultra. Now as an input I used XeSS so far. There might be some differences between the different, you know, input methods, but with XeSS so far I had no issues at all, so I have no desire to change it. Frame generation we can keep off, and what I personally like to do is disable fill grain and motion blur. There we go. I might want to disable FSR4 first. I want to make a run with FSR3. Just to get a glimpse, you know, of how the performance will be on the lightweight thing. And I think it... Oh, yeah, that's perfect. XeSS, fine. Didn't do it automatically. But yeah, those are expected values, like over 100 FPS with, I have to check again. Yeah, it's also on performance, so from Full HD to 4K. Yeah, we get way over 100 FPS. I mean, it's cool that you have the choice, you know, you can use something more lightweight like XeSS or FSR3 or 3.1. Sacrifice, you know, image fidelity for performance. Especially on the 7900 XTX, it makes quite a bit of a difference, I would say. Like, for example, this is one game, for example, where it makes quite a bit of a difference. Like, Cyberpunk with those frame rates feels pretty good. So we did one run. 115 sounds about right. Hello, sorry that I have to cut in real quick. I looked through the recording and sadly I realized that apparently Cyberpunk doesn't like FSR4, or at least my graphics card doesn't like the combination of the game and FSR4 because the encoder just overloaded the moment I enabled FSR4. I can actually reproduce it, and it overloads even if I turn the resolution down to like 1080p or something. So something's wrong there. So sadly, I can't really show footage of the benchmark. So it's more like a PowerPoint presentation. So instead, I will just show you the numbers that I got without any recording. So I made 2 runs, both with FSR4, FSR4 quality. And if we see here, I'm sorry, exactly, yeah, those 2 runs, they are pretty close to each other, about like 68 or like 69 if you round that one up. FPS, more or less. I made some native ones a week ago, so if we go further back, we see some native runs as well, which we see hover between like 64 and 65. This was like a really good run. So let's say like 65 FPS. So the difference is probably like about 3 FPS, a handful of FPS, similar to Expedition 33. So pretty close together, but it's still more than native. So I have to give him that. So in that regard, I can confirm that that's the case for Cyberpunk. So I will just check myself out and I will continue where I have left off with my 4K result. Just don't mind the number there because it's slightly lower due to the recording overhead that I had. So yeah, 63, so we gained 5 FPS. I mean, this is it is an improvement. Like I think it's similar like in Expedition 33. We got like a handful of frames. So I actually have to retract my statement. Like if we go, I'm sorry. If we go back to the comment I made here, based on my findings, FSR, well, I said quality. I tested performance, which would actually have an even bigger impact. Like this is heavy upscaling we're doing from full HD to 4K, and I said it's worse performance than native. I'm gonna be honest, I think that's not the case anymore. I think it's worth using, especially because the picture quality is so close to native already. And in the case of Expedition 33, it looks better than native in my opinion. So yeah, I think that's it. I hope you like that little, not deep dive, but just like impression of the quality that you can expect, if you use an RDNA3 card on Linux and try out those really new things. Again, if I should do more videos about this topic, feel free to leave a comment or a like so I can see that people are actually interested in all of this. But yeah, otherwise that's it then. Thank you for your attention and hope you have a great day.